we are excited to partner with Atlan on sharing this metadata and really helping with that capture process so our customers can make better decisions about their data itself. So the first step is we really call it governed data movement because the focus is Fivetran is not a governance tool, but we want to make sure you have the appropriate level of governance using tools like Atlan while you're moving your information across from source to destination. What is the problem? Data access, right? And data access cannot happen without a very clear governance strategy. And this is really where we've seen a lot of our customers fall over. As they start scaling and as they start getting to a stage where they have several sources, several destinations, distributed data teams, you start off with the core data team who just had this ever-growing queue of data integration projects, people coming up to them and saying, I need to set up a new source, I need access to a new column, or I don't even know that this data is coming from this specific source because typically in the past, governance has always started at the warehouse. So with that, access becomes very difficult because on the one hand, core teams have security and legal telling them that they need to make sure that their data use is in compliance with any of the organizational policies. And on the other hand, they have these distributed analyst teams who want access to data itself. And when distributed analyst teams have to wait for too long, what they end up doing is relying on rogue data teams. And rogue data teams means you don't know if you're actually accessing the right data or making business critical decisions with the right information. So this is really where the focus of governance really comes into play. And I'm going to focus on layer 1 and 2 of this pyramid. So the first step is pipeline. For the purposes of extract, it is extract and load. It means primarily pulling data from the source and landing it in the destination and automating as much of it as possible so data teams are not overwhelmed. So that's really where we have focused most of our efforts over the past 10 years. Building on top of that, the next step is as we start incorporating security and legal and data engineering and data analysts starting to use this tool, one of the big things they need is visibility. For security and legal, that means being able to audit how people are using the data. For data engineers, it means understanding what changes happened upstream and who impacted those changes so they can respond quickly. And for analysts, it's as simple as what data is moving through Fivetran and where did this data come from? So working with partners like Atlan, Snowflake, and dbt, we think we can provide this level of visibility and transparency so you can make decisions and really provide metadata at different components or different layers so you have the context. And from a pipeline perspective, that really comes down to data in flight. So being able to get full visibility into your data as it moves from source to destination. And this gives the unique context of being able to say, what is the location that my data came from? What specific system did it come from? Is it a QA system? Is it a production system? Who owns that system upstream? So your context and data really starts all the way from the source onward. And we think that the first place where you can start implementing governance is in the pipeline because obviously data is at rest in the source. So that's really where we wanted, again, start sharing this information and be a better partner in the ecosystem itself. So with that, we are super excited to share that we have a beta product, the Metadata API that we've been working with Atlan on. And what the Metadata API does is the core use cases is exactly what we have described before, which is first off, what data is moving through Fivetran? Where did this data come from? Where is it landing? What changes have happened upstream and what users have impacted these changes? So me as a person, I don't end up sending PII accidentally. And if I do, the core data team or the security team can immediately action on it. So with that in mind, the Metadata API is something that we are working with Atlan on. And the purpose of that is to start off with column level lineage. How can we show information within the Atlan UI where you can really trace the data back to the column, the specific source column, and then also identify the owners of the pipeline. So in case you have any questions, in case you want to identify if it's the right data you're using, you can you have access to the owners of the pipeline. So you really are not making decisions in a silo, but you have information about the people who may be the subject matter experts there. We are super excited about this because what really helps over here is that we want to show a future state of data access where we remove the need for rogue data teams and remove the need for people landing or relying on low trust data. So with that, we want to drive ownership to the data producers, have the core data teams manage the infrastructure, support the higher level infrastructure as the data team scales, have data analysts get access to fully trusted data, again, in the context of data in flight, and security and legal teams have full visibility into everything that happens within the pipeline. So really, data access is not limited by old school or outdated governance policies, but we're keeping in line with the modern data stack and all of the amazing work that our partners have done as well.